Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Boakai, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In Diaspora. Current affairs. Hey. Reliable information. History. Ooh. Talking about culture. Yeah. Politics. Education. Entertainment. Yeah. Business. Sports. Advertisement. Articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Friday Night Debate, we're going to be debating some hot-button issues, including President Boakai's trips to Indonesia and China, the 2024 budget, national budget, has been surreptitiously altered. What happened? Who did what? And are there any penalties for such a criminal behavior? Also, corruption at LTA, that's the Liberian Telecommunication Authority. We're going to be debating these things, what side you stand on. And with me to do this, I have Mr. Jimmy Eastman, who's joining us from the nation's capital. Welcome, Jimmy.
Oh, hey, Dennis, it's a pleasure to be here. We have some very, very interesting discussions on our plate tonight. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Let me welcome the unabashed, unapologetic, and unrelenting citizen, Mr. Jerome Gilman, who's also the host of On Point right here on Focus on Liberia. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. Beautiful topics. Let's get it going.
Also from the On Point crew, we have Mr. Joseph Jenkins Towell. No, Joseph Towell. Welcome, Joe.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be on Friday Night Debate, and I look forward to giving my view and my opinion on the topics at hand.
Is this your first time on Friday Night Debate?
Yes.
All right. We are so glad to have you on Friday Night Debate, and this is your first time sitting in with the greatest of all.
Okay.
The well-rounded host. Let me welcome the neo-progressive, Mr. Dr. Clarence R. Pearson. Welcome, Doc.
Thank you, Dennis, for having me. And thanks to my esteemed panelists. Hi to all, and welcome to our viewers and listeners out there. We're looking forward to a great show tonight.
Thank you. Let me also welcome Mr. Elvis Morris. He changed from CDC sympathizers to CDC member. Now he carried no label. Welcome, Elvis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. John. I'm still a CDC man. But let me say to Mr. Gilman, that your hair looking suspicious, looking very, very suspiciously black, and your beard looking very black too. So I don't know. Thank you for having me.
You got competition in the young category.
We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. If it's Friday, it's Friday Night Debate. And you all, as you all may know, there was shooting in Georgia, and this is very close to home at the school, Appalachia. This is where my sister used to live. So my nieces, my grandnieces, everybody went to school there. My daughter went to school, and the kid was even in our school district. when the FBI found out, but they had no probable cause to charge him. And then he moved out from Jackson County, my county now, just across to Barrow County, where the Appalachian High School is. And so when he went there, according to the report, they stopped following him because he was not charged. The call that was made, allegedly made to the school, said the person was targeting 5 schools, including my son's school, right, where he left from. So that was Appalachia, where my nieces graduated from, and all of 5 schools, all in the same neighborhood. So this happened. The next day happened. My son didn't even go to school. Yesterday, even today, there were like 10 persons in the class. The day before, there were 5. People are really scared. So this has hit very close to home. I just want to put that out there. And it's very, people are scared. The students are scared. In fact, my son's soccer practice was canceled on that day because everybody was just afraid, and it was just shocking because these are people in the same network, Facebook, Instagram. So you kind of know them. So this is sad. Jimmy, you've been in America longer than me, man. This is sad. This whole campus shooting, especially by taking you. And guess what? After the FBI, kind of went to his home, visited, and his father said, "Oh no, we have the guns, but he doesn't have access to it unsupervised." The following year, during his birthday, the father gave him a gun as gift, AR, or how would they call it, AR-15 as a gift. So right now, the father is arrested. He's being charged. If he's guilty, he's going to be in jail for 100 years because he knew his son was threat to other human beings, and yet he gave him a gun at age 14.
Yes, rightly so. We've seen a new trend. It appears that if a parent is buying arms for their children or making arms available for the children, they are also going to be complicit in any heinous shooting that goes on, simply because they are providing access. They are accomplices to the crime of that these kids are committing. You can't. These things have to be very secured, and if you can't do it, if your child is able to get it behind you, then you are to blame. But willingly giving a dangerous firearm to a child who is mentally unstable, or a child who is socially aggressive, you're just waiting for something to happen. So I guess this is a very good way to at least curb some of these actions when parents know that they are going to be held culpable of the heinous act, and therefore they will either be very diligent in securing arms away from teens. They will know that if they pacify a troubled child with a firearm, that they too will go to jail. So I'm glad to hear this development. We heard the other day a couple of parents were charged with murder, and so this is good. You cannot take the what they call the Second Amendment away from these people, the right to carry arms, but you can make it very punitive if they do not comply with the safety laws regarding firearms. So I think that this is a new trend, and I think it's a very good trend in the right direction.
Mr. Gaiman, I think you have firearm at home, so
Yes. Those of us who believe in the firearms and protecting your family and your home, to me, it is idiotic to take a gun. I shouldn't even call it gun, but a killing machine like AR-15 to a child who I don't shoot those kinds of guns, but even the regular handguns, when you go to the range, the strength and the power it takes to control those things. And then when you listen next door, when people are shooting those rifles, those big things, it shakes the walls. To take that and give it to a child, a particular gun that was just used that almost assassinated the presidential candidate, Mr. Trump. This particular gun has been in the news. I mean, over the past 5, 6, 7 years, massive human killing machine. So these parents have to be held accountable for something like that. This one is so brazen. Who gave that kind of gun to a child, 14-year-old? I think people now need to be held accountable for their action, and I like the charges. They call that child abuse, which is true. You cannot love your child to the detriment of everybody else around you. He's lucky the boy didn't turn a gun on him. So I mean, this is terrible, and I think we have to do something about guns in this country. I know it has something to do with Second Amendment, but still, there has to be some kind of way that people are held accountable for these kinds of crimes.
Elvis, you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I have a comment on it. I'm not a big gun advocate. Since I came to America, I've never handled a gun. I never shot a gun. But I handled a gun when I was in Liberia. Surprisingly, because my father had a little silver pistol that he kept for protection for our household. And I saw it, in the room one time. I was like a kid then, maybe like 6 or 7 years old. So I remember that. But since I came to this country, I've never had, any affinity for guns. Never even shot one or even held one in this country. So I think this false sense that masculinity is tied to owning guns in this country. The idea that you got to get him shooting when you're young. It's a masculine thing for a boy to do. I'm not saying that it isn't, but the reality for a father to give a 14-year-old a gun, buy the male a Nintendo Switch, buy him a new bike, buy him something that a 14-year-old can engage other 14-year-olds, year-old with, instead of buying a gun. And this is prevalent. We hate to talk politics. This is a political show anyway, but at least American politics. When you hear Republicans caping for gun rights, you hear them advocating on the NRA, advocating for people to have guns, and they neglect the fact that people who are mentally ill, a lot of people in this country are mentally ill, whether it's going through depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, whatever you want to diagnose them with. And you just put guns in the hands of these people with no, a strong background check and no way for the police to enforce taking guns away from people without quote unquote infringing the Second Amendment rights if you feel like they're ill. Your kids go to these schools, and I mean, imagine, just think about it, one of your nieces or your child getting killed or hurt in a school shooting, what that does to you psychologically. So I think for those of us who live in these different states who are quote unquote pro guns, we need to change, switch sides and ask for more stringent gun control laws so that people like these this young guy and other kids who may be ill and mentally, unstable shouldn't have guns that can go into your kid, classroom and kill them at 7 years old, at 10 years old, at 14-year-old, even at 17-year-old. It's reprehensible, and I think we all should speak against it. We live in this country. We can't just only focus on our girl. These things can impact our lives, our family lives, and we have to speak up against it. I'm a strong proponent of stronger gun reform laws in this country. Thank you.
Mr. Tao, we should be speaking against, according to others.
But for me, this is how I see this. It's not just about the gun. It's about our culture and it's about the society. There is a problem in the society. If you look at the world, what you call the developed world and the developing world, or however you want to call them, the United States, they actually parade violence in so many ways. In the U.S., you can't take your child. I want to take my daughter or my son to go to the farm for us to be able to kill some goat. Where they kill goat, they're not allowed, but they have video games where actual murder is taking place. So these are the contradictions. So it's not just a gun. They need to look at the society, my brother, and refix. They need to restructure things. You know, if we were living in another country, I think sometimes we live here and then we get carried away, or people we get desensitized. Over 43,000 people get killed every year in this country, gun violence in one form or another. Man, tell me, in any other country, this is a war zone. We actually live in a war zone. I was going to Liberia once, and my American friend, they were like, "Hey, look, well, make sure you don't come home." And I look at him and laugh. I said, "I'm most likely to get gunned down in this country than in my country. We don't have that problem." So I did the numbers today after I read this stuff. In 5 years, from 2019 to 2023, 217,000 people in gun violence. If you take that and you put it over the period of our 14-year civil war, where they said there were 250,000 people, that's almost 650,000 people. This country is in crisis. So they need to put the politics aside, and they need to go back to restructuring. You can't discipline your kids. You can't do the teachers don't have this control. They don't have this. So everything is just loose. So they need to go back and they need to relook at the society. And they need to restructure stuff. I think it is not just about taking gun, passing some stuff, say people can't have gun or people can't have gun, because on both sides, that is not an issue. The society itself need to actually be looked at and things need to be restructured. That, for me, that is where the problem is.
Thank you. Dr. Pearson.
Yeah, Dennis, I think it's a serious problem. And just to not to repeat what others have said, when I saw the unfolding situation today, I was so sad. I was sad, one, that a young man threw away his entire life, and in so doing also threw away the life of his father. And when I saw that father sitting and just, swinging back and forth, the only thing that would go through my mind was that he knew that it just took one decision in his life to destroy the entire generation, right, of his son himself. And that's so sad. And I think some of the things that are going on is how much money has impacted the politics in this country. When we look at the gun crisis in this country, is primarily because of the money, involved in the whole gun process. And how politicians are dependent on those big manufacturers to make the money, both not just in the United States where the gun is wrongly used, but how the guns are also used outside of the United States to perpetuate wars and conflicts, while people make money out of those things. And it's sad also when before I close, another thing came out and is being discussed right now, where in some states they're talking about banning cell phone from the classroom, and then how this also tie in with this entire school shooting. And then parents and myself said, yeah, we're panicking. It's like, how do you ban cell phone from the classroom when the kids can come under fire at any time, and the only option they will have an opportunity to speak to the parents the last time is to make that fatal phone call? And and take so many things. So even if we want to improve the lives of the kids from the destruction of the cell phone and how it impacts their life, guns also play a role in hindering that progress. So it's a sad day for America, and it's going to be a sad day for the country going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Ducle. I just got in today in Maryland. One of the viewers just sent it to me. A Jopletown High School student shot by a classmate Friday died at a hospital. Hartford County Sheriff said. The sheriff identified the student who died as Warren Curtis Grant, age 15. That's Friday. Mr. Duque, you have 30 seconds to comment on this whole gun issue, and our hearts go out to the families that lost loved ones. I mean, look at those kids. They're all kids, 9th grade.
Yeah, Dennis, this is a phenomenon that is look down upon anyone who admires the United States. And I think Dr. Pearson did touch on some element of it. the gun culture in the United States, the Second Amendment, is become the tools where conservatives hide behind, pretend to be in the interest of the people, but the bottom line of it is the money, the money, and the money. NRA is a big proponent of this money being thrown around to lobby the gun industry. It's not as if they don't know what the problems are or what the solution should be, and so until such time that America recognizes that this so-called gun culture being introduced all the time with Second Amendment. If you have the right to bear weapons, as they say, they shouldn't be complaining about the outcome, because some of these, I can tell you, a significant number of these gun violence are preventable. Particularly the recent one in Georgia, it was just preventable. The signs were all over the place, and yet, because Georgia does not have the what's it called, the red flag law. So, even though this gentleman was visited by the FBI and the GBI, and nothing was followed from there, because people are afraid of violating people's Second Amendment rights. So, it's a phenomenon that is going to plague the United States until such time politicians come to realize it's no more about people's Second Amendment rights.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Friday Night Debate, and that was our, intro talking about the guns, something that is in my community right here in Georgia. I mean, Jackson County is happening next door. In fact, my city is in like 4 counties: Jackson County, Hall County, Gwinnett, and even some part of Barrow County. So this is where we are. And even today, for the past 2 days now, the schools are not packed because the kids are still shocked. But let's get started on our topic for today of President Joseph Newman Boakai with his delegation. One newspaper reported 50, but up to now, I've not been able to verify the exact number of people that went with the president. Went to Indonesia, China, and he's coming to the United States soon for the GA, United Nations General Assembly, UGA, right? But let's talk about the Indonesia-China trade, starting with China. And the president is traveling. While in China, we saw the report came out today that he saw Liberia signs $3 billion memorandum of commitment, now for the development of an oil refinery in Bikina, Grand Bassa County, on the margins of the Forum or the China-Africa Cooperation Forum in Beijing. Also, Liberia signs a $100 million project on road financing and infrastructure development in Beijing, China. Mr. Tao, so with all the thing about the president's trip, I think with the signing of these two, this one called Memorandum of Commitment, the first one was Memorandum of Understanding. So it was making research on this. It's only today that I know that we have 3: Memorandum of Understanding that we all use, so Memorandum of Agreement and Memorandum of Commitment. I don't know what the differences are. Mr. Tower, what's your take on this? I think with all the noise, these things should make us be quiet now. We got something coming.
Yeah, in the first place, I watched some of the other platforms on FOL, and people are saying like, why is the president going there and all of this stuff? What are we doing in Indonesia? What are we doing in China? I don't think I have problem with the president going abroad, because that is, especially for how those nation states are set up. You were set up very bankrupt. You were set up broke in terms of ideology and trying to even use your own resources. So they all go out there. It doesn't matter who you bring there, whether it's Cummins, they will all be running out there. If they're not there, they're going to be coming to the U.S. There is not that much difference. But I think them. I will give you a scenario. The reason that you don't get anything tangible. I have a friend of mine. We went to school together, and he's a professor in South Africa. And he had traveled to China to a conference. And the same delegation, China-Africa conference, they were there. And they happened to be at the same hotel that he was in. Some of them were staying in that hotel. So he met one of them. Some came from Ivory Coast and from Senegal. The guys from Benin Republic, my friend. So he started asking them about what is this conference about? And they're all sitting and they're talking. And he's trying to really know, okay, so you flew all the way here. What did you come to do? And they had no real plan. They had no real plan. They had no blueprint. They went to the Chinese people with nothing of what they want. They went there for the Chinese people to tell them what they can give them and what they can do. And then the next one was, and we pray that God will move them, really. So I'm just giving this example to say most of the conferences and the travel, that is why nothing come out of it. We don't even go with our own interest. We don't even know what we want. In the first place, because we have people that are not even thinking. They're just going to get the per diem, to do all of this stuff. They don't go, oh, hey, look, this is what we want. This is nothing. They go there, they're waiting for the Chinese people to tell them, or wherever, whether it's in the US or anywhere, what they can do for them, or what they want to do in Liberia. Sign here and they just sign. So I really don't know what the differences of those are, because they all sound like the same. They're just playing on words. If I can just touch on this, I work in oil and gas for a long time. They said they're going to build refinery. I heard that in Grand Bassa County. We're not drilling oil. We don't have oil right now that is on a productive level, right? You're building refinery for what? What are you going to do with it? You're going to be shipping the oil from Guinea or from Senegal or from Ghana or from Nigeria there? Why would they do that? You don't have the infrastructure. You don't have light. You don't have any of this stuff. So all the stuff, I think, just like Mr. Gibman always said, they are trying to just score some points. They're throwing things around. And when they say something, it's supposed to sound good to the people. And then it's supposed to take the pressure off of them. But in that process, they're looting the country. Mr. Kamara, I wish he was here. He said Boakai was so serious about small government that he had only, I think, 23,000 or 43,000 in the budget for foreign travel. I don't know if the 43,000 out of a certain has turned into a billion or hundreds of millions, because all of these trips is 60 people and everything else. I don't know where they're getting the money from. If 43,000 is all that was put in there for foreign travel.
Thank you. Mr. Dukley, are you surprised that they give, we get this $3 billion refinery project, hoping that it's going to materialize, we hope. But it's like, do you believe that's something that we actually asked for or went for, or they're just giving us whatever they have?
I think Dennis, Brother Tao has just described exactly what goes on in every Liberian delegation. And so this is not new. For them, this is business as usual. This is how they conduct these trips, and why not? You see, Dennis, part of the problem is sometimes when these delegations go to negotiate, they are not prepared. And most of the time, the individual who are supposed to be doing that negotiation, they are not competent for that negotiations. And the reason why what Brother Tower said resonated with me, I've seen it firsthand myself. I've experienced it firsthand in Egypt, Cairo, when Liberian, the late Theophilus Sompong was, I believe he was the the president of one university, Tubman University, I believe it was.
Yeah, Tubman University.
Yes, and there was an Egyptian professor. There was an Egyptian professor who had died, and he brought the remains back to Cairo. And there was supposed to be some 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 meeting with some Egyptian Ministry of Education staff, and as well as the Ministry of I don't quite remember the ministry now, but these ministries were supposed to provide certain technical assistance to Tubman University. And I remember visiting one of the delegate members in his hotel room, and he said to me, "Mr. Tukle, how come you guys speak these people's language so well? And what am I going to say tomorrow?" I'm like, "Really? What are you going to say tomorrow?" So then is the short end of the story is that these people that we send to represent us are not prepared, and they are not competent to negotiate on our behalf in a way that will yield something beneficial to Liberia. With that said, why would we go to conferences and all these delegations? People tell us what to do, and we just do it because we ourselves, we are not prepared, and we are in it for ourselves, meaning the paradigm that comes with the trip and all the peasantry and you name it. So first of all, why do we need a refinery in Liberia when we don't produce oil? Dangote just opened up a new refinery in Nigeria the capacity is far beyond what Nigeria produces. In other words, they can refine oil for Nigeria and any other oil producing country in the region. So why are we trying to build a refinery in Grand Bassa when we don't produce oil? None of our neighboring countries produce oil, anyways.
Yeah. So maybe Jerome would know. But before I come to Jerome, let me go to Jimmy. Jimmy, since you are Eastman, so we know that you know a thing or two about diplomacy.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why it's in Washington.
Who signed for Liberia? Is it a president? That's not likely for the president to sign a memorandum of understanding of agreement, right? Could be the foreign minister or the finance minister.
Yeah, either of the above. It could be the minister of finance, the minister of commerce, and various anybody with the capacity or on a committee.
So my question to you is, with the president's arrest agenda, which of it really relate to refinery? Or is
I think arrest and economics. No, I believe that's what the E stands for.
The E is for
education.
Yeah, education.
Or remind me what the acronym stands for. But here's what I look at.
Rules.
Yeah, here's how I look at it.
Oh, maybe that other arrow, maybe they're changing it to refinery. Flomo, what do you think?
Other arrow is rule of law.
You know, the whole I love
is a variable, so you can change it to another arrow, refinery.
Yeah. Mr. Duke mentioned something very strategic. When we go there, are we just simply going with our hands out, or do we have a strategic plan so that we're not just going whatever they give us we're happy with? But to have a strategic plan means you have to have something already developed in your mind, coordinated, and that will last over the years. A development plan that will tie in several industries, so it will not be a silo build, but rather it will affect the neighboring industries, and we will grow together. That oil palm thing right now, admittedly, oil palm has been on the rise, even in Liberia. Farmers are planting more oil palm than they are rubber trees now. If you know this, there's more to not only that. If our neighbors are producing oil palm, and we're proficient in the processing it, we could get that. It's the thing itself is good, Mr. We got our man Sam Willow here. Yes, the idea of an oil palm bringing industrialization to Liberia is good, but it's not good if it's just a silo. It has to be tied into other projects that will bring about a community development. All right. So why would our people, when they go there, they simply prostrate on the ground asking people, or do they go there with a whole development plan? If I had any advice for this administration, I said that they can have your arrest agenda, but please put together a comprehensive 30-year plan for Liberia, that even if this administration is not there, the subsequent administration can continue the journey. We have people capable of doing such a plan. You know, we need a national agenda, not just an agenda, but a plan that will bring up Liberia so that each generation knows a direction where we go. So, but one, I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. I've seen these things go through. One time in 79, we were supposed to have a $1 billion Kawasaki steel plant. Liberia was very stable at the time, very, very stable. It had 100 and some more years of stability. So they said we're going to put $1 billion and multiply that in today's, that might have been 100 billion. Okay. And they were going to put that, and we had iron ore. Can you imagine when we stopped producing steel products? But it didn't come to fruition. So even though I like this idea, but I want to see it come to fruition, and I need for them to tie on, if they're going to put this, or where they're going to put it, what are the industries they're going to create, you're going to piggyback on this oil palm, so that it will bless not just one industry, but all the industries. It has to be a comprehensive plan involving education, sanitation, electricity, all these things, so that the whole community will develop. It's not just a isolated issue, and I don't think we need to be planning like that.
Dr. Pearson, right? We also signed an agreement for 100 million for roads, right? So while the president is away, Africa is threatening to cut our light. So I would think that we will go for something that is of urgent need, like electricity. So I wonder if China was to give us a cash of 3 billion, will we go to refinery, or will we put it to road, or will we put it to electricity, something that maybe is more urgent? What do you think factor in that to come up with this refinery? It's a good thing. We love it, but could we do something else with the money if we have it?
Dennis, thank you. I think it's a good question. My late mother would have said, if you want to catch the rat, give it cheese, and you can get it right in the mouse trap without even trying to hustle it. If you want to catch a fish, put a bit on the hook. And you've said, you couldn't have said it better. I did an article that I published a couple of months ago, and I was concerned about if we have an electricity problem, why can't we build a mini dam on the Kavala River? Why can't we build a mini dam on the Sestos River? These rivers, God has blessed us. These rivers cut across our country in very strategic ways. In central Liberia, eastern Liberia, western Liberia, cut across. So if we even went for a mini dam like the one Firestone has as a model, using our universities and our AFL and international partnership for hands-on training, for practical exposure for our engineering unit in our different university, we'll be building our capacity on those grounds. I would have loved to see something like that. But going back to why we settled down for whatever came our way is simply because we're desperate. And I think President Boakai lacks leadership. Like we say, he doesn't have the competence to lead. And Sadly, he has people around him also who is not providing him the technical guidance in his leadership. All the advisors around him seems to be failing him. Now, let me end by saying this. And it was going to shock you. China is the world's largest polluter in greenhouse gas. China is also the world's most polluted city. All right, a country in the entire world. China is one of the most aggressive pushback against reducing greenhouse gas and solving the climate crisis. Now they are in conflict and the tensions rising with the United States on that as well. Not with Donald Trump, because Donald Trump doesn't believe it, but at least with Joe Biden. And so I say this to say that Liberia, the guys who went with President Boakai, are they aware that Liberia is a signatory to the Paris Agreement? Are they aware that Liberia is a signatory to the nationally determined contributions, the NDCs? Are they aware Liberia is a party to the United Nations framework?
What does that mean? It means we can have a refinery because of that?
You know, I will learn. You're not distracting. Are they aware that we are also a signatory to the reducing emissions from deforestation? So what do we stand? The question on her was why Liberia? China is looking for somewhere to continue to do a production without bearing the responsibility. Liberia is going to be a dumping ground for all of the carbon emissions that plant will produce. We're going to damage our carbon footprint. We are going to damage our country's image abroad when it comes to how we are fighting climate. We're going to see mass demonstration from Greenpeace and other places coming to Liberia with that distraction we didn't have before. It's going to come because there's going to be public pushback. Just take this. Now, why? Like the good question I close on this, Dennis. Why didn't we opt for a clean energy through hydro, like you're seeing, hydro production of electricity, instead we want to go for a refinery? That comes with a lot of backlashes. I know it's going to create jobs. I know it's going to bring down maybe a few prices and things, but why do we want to do that as a developing country that is already wanting in our environmental capacity? I mean, it's sad for our country. It's very sad. I know anybody will accept anything they can get because they want the political optics, but it's bad for our country, Dennis.
Mr. Gilman, is it a beggar got no choice? Is that why we're taking refinery over anything else?
Thank you very much, Dennis Ja. I want to congratulate Joseph Boakai for doing another stunt. You noticed every time this administration is under duress, we have the LTA, we have all the scandals in the country. Some people say 100, people say 90, some people say 60 men and women that went to Indonesia and China. We are talking about electricity being disconnected, and then you come up with this fiasco or complete fake news that China, of all people, they are going to build a refinery in my hometown, Grand Bassa County, that has no connection whatsoever. What are you going to do? Take the crude oil from Egypt and bring it to Liberia, refine it, take it back. So you know it's not.
No, they're turning burning doors into oil, Mr.
Yeah,
Gilman.
so you know it's not true. You know it's not true. Now listen to this. I used to be, like I said, I was the vice president for the chamber here. When we go out to bring corporations to Florida, you need a contract that says commencement date and completion date. Yes. If you don't have a contract that stipulates that, it is like in Liberia, it's a VLA. Let anybody that is on this trip, from the Ministry of Information to Commerce, let them publish anything that says refinery will begin 2030 and finish in 2050. We saw the press releases, we saw all the writing from China, all the corporations, all the countries that were giving money. They listed those countries, including Ghana and Nigeria. Did you see Liberia being mentioned? So whatever we write as a political stunt is on us. We are talking about what is the home country writing about countries that they have a water grant and loans. They name Kenya, Nigeria, they named Ghana, they named all those other major countries. Liberia was never mentioned. Nobody that is a supporter of the Unity Party can send anything from China or anywhere in Asia that says Liberia was awarded refinery or whatever. So you guys have taken the bait. They do not want us to talk about the LTA. They don't want to talk about the pending electricity. They don't want you to talk about anything. But all places, Basa is going to get $3 billion worth of refinery. I remember years back, what they bought, T. Nelson Williams and the other guy from LPRC came up with this seed line. There would be the new, what they bought in Harry Greaves. We are taking a new refinery to Grand Bassa County and all that. They were seeing Unity Party now. They see Unity Party. They've seen stunt. They have done it before. But I want you to look at this. This is February 23rd. Joseph Boakai and these people shaking hands. Liberia is getting that. Well, February 23rd. The anniversary is coming up. $5 billion. And Mr. What's his name here? Mr. Waller was out here. $5 billion. It's going to create 5,000 new jobs. And the economy is going to boom. What happened to this MOU? So what I'm telling you guys, do not be distracted. This is a stunt. Grand Bassa County is not getting $5 billion or $3 billion or anything, oil refinery. If you told me they were going to build steel factory, we say it makes sense. You take the steel, when they're shipping the steel to Grand Bassa through the port, you can build a factory there. But to say oil, when Da Conte just unveiled $20 billion, the largest refinery in the world, they say $20 billion. Then Liberia going to have one. Man, please don't fall for this. It's a complete fabrication.
Thank you. Elvis, I want to be the last on this one. Liberia signs a $100 million project on road financing and infrastructure. That's from the executive mansion. So it's not just refinery. This is roads. Something that is dear to the president's heart.
I'm giving our president a big hand clap. He has done it. You know, Papa went to where he came out, all the goodies. You know, I mean, I'm a little perplexed, you know, to be honest, and I'm not being facetious, I'm being honest. What is the refinery for? I mean, is it really an oil refinery as we know it? Is it some other form of refinery? What exactly are they saying in that document? Oil refinery or just a refinery?
I thought
it's an oil refinery, according to
oil refinery.
Could it be a palm oil refinery or? Go ahead, Mr. John.
The memorandum of commitment for the development of an oil refinery. We think it's crude oil.
Yeah, crude oil.
I mean, I don't know. It's like somebody bringing me a jet in his and put a jet right to my, you know, on my family land. Tell me to the jet for you. How can I use the jet? How do I even fuel the jet? I don't even have anything that the jet uses. So how can you have a refinery in Grand Bassa unless there are oil fields in Grand Bassa County that we don't know about? What is the use of it? How can you put something there when you don't have, you know, the equipment that's going to be useful to that tool? You know, I don't understand it. I really don't. So I think the role situation is good because I think every president, from President Ellen Johnson in recent times to President Weah, I think they borrow money or even got some goodwill from like France for President Weah, Qatar, and other countries that kind of donated to the road funds. I'm not sure if it's a donation or if this is an actual deal where we have to give something in return. So maybe we can get more details when the president comes back. But obviously, I think any president, from Ellen Johnson to George Weah to President Boakai, even the president after, will always get money when it comes to building quote-unquote infrastructure, especially roads. So the key here is is the loan favorable, at least not as you know expectative as as previous loan that we have for road projects. But imagine, Mr. Job, we spent $22 million on fixing the road during the rainy season. That's over 20% of the money that we're getting from China. And I'm sure that money is probably a loan. So just to fit the mud roads, we're going to spend $22 million and we're getting $100 million and we think that's a lot of money to really fix the roads in our country. It's nothing. It's peanuts in terms of the grand scheme scale of what we actually need. So I'm not going to condemn President Boakai because I think his acolytes are really happy that he got memoranda of what? What do you call it? commitment. Yeah, memorandum of commitment. So for them, it's a good thing. It's a win. They're desperately looking for a win, and I will give it to them. I won't take it from you guys because I think that President Boakai has been hunting for this, and he found a little fish, and he's dangling in front of his supporters, and that's what they wanted. They wanted a little bit of red meat so they can put it in the face of the opposition and say, see. And I hear people talking about how President Boakai signed something with SPS, signed something with Metal Steel, signed something with this other company that they're going to increase their investment, they're going to do this. Those are all in the future. Those are all supposed to happen down the road, not right now. Bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. What is bird in the hand right now? All of these things are not, like you're saying, Mr. Dad, it's not cash. Cash, you have the flexibility to spend it how you want to spend it. This is not cash. This is a commitment, and it's probably going to trickle in over years. Maybe it's a 10-year time frame where the people are going to give us this money if we're actually going to see this money. So please, it's not an immediate win for this government. It's not something that's going to immediately impact the lives of Liberia. And I think President Boakai wants to come back with something from this trip. And I think it's going to be a prolonged trip, as we're seeing right now. This is like a begging spree that you're going from the other country to the other country to the other country, coming back to America. I think he just left America maybe 3 weeks ago. Now he's coming back again, maybe in another, over 6 weeks he will be in America and out of America. You complain about George Weah because it was thought to be something that was, for pleasure to go watch his son play, a World Cup game. Well, I think if we count up the trip the days on this trip, it's going to be probably similar to that of President Weah. And we have serious things going on in our country, and our president is absent, and yet we're begging for money that haven't materialized. It probably won't materialize for years to come. So kudos to President Boakai. He did well, but we want to see tangibles right now that we can benefit from.
Mr. Jha.
Hold on, Mr. Tao. I have a question for you, right?
Yes.
So the President Boakai has not visited any of the counties. Is that a concern, or because he's getting stuff from outside, so it should be good?
No, I don't think it's really a concern. For me, look, let me clarify something here real quick, please. I don't want us. For me, I don't have a problem with the president taking these trips. Anyway, as long as they actually did their homework and they know what they're going to say, look, this is what we want. And then say, no, you can't get this much. You can get this based on this, on some kind of proportion, right? But look, let us not mislead ourselves. China is a superpower in the world. Nobody should try to demean them that we are going to China and we can't get anything from they can pollute. No, China is not the number one polluter. China signed onto the Kyoto Protocol when it was put together in Kyoto. I follow it. China signed onto that the remodel because it failed. The failure was the U.S. was one of the leading people for which a Kyoto Protocol failed that they had to remodel into the Paris climate change. They refused to follow any of it. They crafted this stuff for carbon credit. Carbon credit is a scheme. It does not reduce no carbon. So if Chevron is producing 100 tons of carbon, instead of them improving their technology, oil and gas, so that they can be able to reduce that emission, they increase it. They tell Liberia, you have some forest. We own that forest. We're going to lease it, give you some money. Now with that forest, they create some bogus stuff that based on this stuff, it cannot be touched. They stop the people from in that place, from farming, from hunting, from touching anything. Taking over your land. They said now that is about maybe 300 million carbon credits. So now Chevron can now go from 100 to 150. That is what the whole carbon credit is. So nothing is changing, in fact, polluting more. If you look at China's population, that is almost 4 times the size of the United States. If you take that, they are not polluting more than anybody else. Even France and Britain, they pollute. So let us, because we're looking at percentage. Now, the US, France, Germany, everybody go crawl into China. China is the production engine and power of the world. If you deal with them the right way and you know what you want and you can negotiate, you can actually benefit. If you want to develop,
that's not true. China is exploiting Kenya right now.
No. If you want to develop your country and you have the game plan, China, you can deal with them and you can benefit.
Okay,
All the
relate
other
that to relate that to Liberia.
Okay. Okay. So, but look, when we're talking about the refinery, if it is oil refinery, it is impossible for it to be built in Liberia because Liberia are working oil and gas, and this is how it works. Liberia does not have any oil and gas. So unless they're building a pipeline from Senegal, where they're drilling in Guinea, they're drilling in Ghana, unless they pipe the oil into that refinery. I'm here in Houston. The largest oil refinery is for BP. It sits about maybe 45 minutes from here to almost an hour. Offshore, the rigs are about 250 miles offshore. They drill. Once it reaches production, they cap it and they pipe that oil from under the ocean straight into the refinery. That is the cheapest way. Now, the Dangote refinery that you're talking about, I pointed this out a year ago when they said he was building the refinery. I have a bunch of friends that are Nigerian. They have oil business in Nigeria. And I asked them, where is Dangote going to get the oil from? They say, Nigeria does not have oil. Nigeria don't have oil well. All the oil is in the hands of multinationals. The country itself don't produce no crude oil. Dangote Group don't produce crude oil. So the question I ask is, how would Dangote supply the so-called refinery that he's building? Because it says Chevron, or it says Exxon, or it says Shell that is going to drill their oil for that refinery and then bring it to, and then put it on a vessel and bring it to Dangote refinery. It's not going to work. Then I asked friends that are in Lagos, I said, unless you see them building pipeline from the Niger Delta, from these places, and it's coming into the refinery, that is just going to be an oil bunkering area, like an oil depot. That is what it's going to be. And what happened? Today, I have a whole bunch of videos I can show you. It's just an oil bunkering. Look at what happened in Dangote refinery that you're talking about. It's just a gimmick in a nutshell. This is what they did.
Wow.
Yes, no, I'm about to tell you.
I don't want to go too deep into that.
Let me wrap up on this. Before Dangote could come up with a refinery, they wrote a new bill in Nigeria that only a person with refinery can import refined oil, gas, or petroleum products. You see that? So now that he built it, he stopped everybody else from importing. So if you already have a refinery, why are you importing gasoline and kerosene? You're supposed to be refining. So right now,
Mr. Tower, I mean, come on. You think Dangote built that thing for people with, so you can be sitting out there without no oil being refined in it?
I'm talking about what it's doing now. I'm following it.
Did you just see his press conference he had where he had the oil on the table that's very, very clear? And he was talking about how they started production.
They have never refined.
What are doing there? So what's the purpose of building it if they're not going to refine? You think that man spent $20 billion for it to just sit down there and be useless? Come on now.
All right. Hold on, Mr. Tower. I don't want us to go into that.
Refined product.
Then what are you doing with it? What are you doing with the refinery?
I need a 30 seconds to respond.
No, we're leaving. We're going to our next issue. Which is the
man deep on something I said. I gotta redeem myself
because we're getting into Dangote now. So we spent like an hour and we're talking Dangote. So let's go to.
Give me 30 seconds.
He built a refinery to refine oil.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
Let's go on to the 2024 budget being surreptitiously altered. We that's the news we got, and the House set up a committee to investigate that. We heard that. What happened? Well, they said, it happened, but nobody was held accountable. That's with the House committee to investigate the pro tem Yombly Kanga Lawrence set up her own committee to investigate the same thing. Pro tempore Yombly Kanga Lawrence established an ad hoc committee to investigate the budget alterations. The committee is chaired by Senator Daba Vapla and includes other senators, right? What they're supposed to do will be to verify if the budget passed by the Senate matches the final signed version and identify those who made a surreptitious alteration and what their motives were. Mr. Ducle, what is next to you there? Is it a shadow or something?
No, I was just moving my
there is a dark spot on your side there.
There's something in front of the camera.
Right. Okay. It fell down. That's
it fell down and it came back up.
I don't know.
Man, the Boakai people, they, hey, man. It's clear now. There you go.
Mr. Duque,
Yes.
on this whole budget alteration, they House did their report already. They say it happened, but they never found anybody accountable. What do you think the Yomli Kanga group up to as well?
But yeah, but in that same report, Dennis, there are suspicions that there are people in a house who are suspects. People suspect that there are people like a higher ranking member of the house who are suspect. But it just goes.
Pardon me? They put it on the ways and means. They say somebody in the ways and means.
Yes. So this is not all happening in vacuum. Look, as optimistic as we want to be, this is business as usual, Dennis. Nothing has changed and nothing will change. Simply because this is how this house has functioned since we came back to what we want to call democracy. And the way we see things, the way we operate, the way we have this bicameral chambers in our country, the Senate and the House. And Dennis, you just don't have to go too far into our political history to recognize that this is just one example of what we always call business as usual. In the end, Liberian people are going to come out of this short-handed because there's going to be zero accountability. There's going to be no one held to account simply because is this you wash my back, I wash your back kind of attitude that they have in the house there. It's just when I read this thing today, I was just like, oh my Lord, when are we going to be serious about running our country properly? Remember when this thing first came up, somebody said somebody from the executive, they were just throwing things around that were not making sense at all, Dennis. And now for them to say that they set up a committee, somebody in it, I mean, who are they fooling here? Who are they trying to make fool out of?
Thank you. Let me go to Dr. Pearson. Dr. Pearson, do you know exactly what was altered that they are bickering about? Exactly what's being altered and what the possible impact is of that change?
Thank you, Dennis. I think the last time I heard and saw some people going around, the acting finance minister said, Miles, I think he said they simply shifted figures that were under certain ministerial agency that did not match the budget code to support that expenditure under that agency or ministry. Like, for example, if you have projects that are supposed to be executed by Ministry of Education and the funding was placed under Ministry of Youth and Sport, they were under obligation to be in compliance with budget coding to swap the money to where it's supposed to be appropriately expended, because that was the institution responsible to make that spending. But I think it has gone beyond that. And I think what the situation is right now is the concern that some of us have as to why was the executive so silent on this issue, and why was the Senate also silent. If you look at the House of Representative findings, it tells you that the recall of that budget from the Ministry of Finance, from the executive, came from the Senate. All right, and then the House clerk only just was a conduit as a part of the procedure to get that process done. So the entire burden fell on the foot of the Senate. That's the reason why Yomli is calling an investigation herself. But the concern,
Dr. Pearson, the reason I asked you the question is, why is it that we are not really clear about what are the alterations?
Yeah, because
Why is it not?
the guys are saying there's no alteration. They're saying the executive branch is saying there was not an alteration. It said
No,
there
I'm
were
talking about the Senate and
budget
the.
shift. Yeah, no, the Ministry of Finance is saying that they shifted budget and it's a normal practice for them to do. However, the House of Representatives investigation shows that somebody did swap some documents in the packet. So again, that's why Yomni Kanga is investigating, because the story is not adding up according to them. And so I think it's too early for us to say, like Prof. Dukley said, it's like the thieves are the one investigating themselves right now. So with nothing coming from nowhere is credible. Everybody's gonna be blaming each other. It goes to say how terrible our country is. I listened to Gafwan. Gafwan was during his time. He was doing his how you call it, confirmation. He said something very profound, and I want to raise it on this comment I'm trying to make. You know, he said they asked him about the same thing. He said, listen. He said, even when you hear about audits and hear people making issues of the audit, he said, listen, when administration changed hands and other people in office who were not in office when the situation occurs, some people misplaced documents and intentionally withhold documents to make the other party look ugly. And I think that statement was profound. If you let Dennis go back and listen to his hearing, when he said that, I was like, oh wow,
that doesn't sound profound to me.
Suggesting that maybe LTA go into office, LTA acting commissioners go into office and then hide documents from the auditors to make the previous government look bad. And I'm like, oh wow. And he said these things happen. And I was like, oh my God, is he even saying that? And nobody picked it up. Nobody picked it up as a serious issue to follow more. I was so shocked. So now the mass arguing among themselves who stole the cheese. Until we can get an independent body to go in there and check who stole the cheese, the mass will blame each other.
Thank you, Jimmy. And I found this very weird that nobody is highlighting the changes or the alleged changes or alterations that they are talking about. Yes, we got the finance ministry side say, hey, we just move things around. But the allegations of alteration, why are they not being upfront? And second, the House investigated and found out, yeah, changes went on, but then that's it. We're not saying anymore. Now, Yombly wants to investigate. What do you think Yombly is going to do with the finding? Punish people, fire people, deduct money, or send people to jail? What's the point here?
I find our whole process of processing a budget is at fault in itself. My understanding is that only certain committee or members are allowed to change anything in the budget itself. What happens is if you can get recommendations from the ministry, from various groups, from the legislature, from the executive, and that recommendation or instruction comes to this and they affect the change within the budget. For it to right now, we're saying the budget got changed and we need to investigate. That it's something rather unnatural, because they should have strict policies and procedures for any change to take place in such a exercise. But I think what we're seeing going on is business as usual. They're not following the rules that they probably created, and we find all this bickering later on. And when you check it out, somebody is not following rules, or we don't have rules. Because I understand the legislature and the whole legislature has not even been audited. How can a body who handles government money have no oversight on it at all? This is ridiculous. Why? They are not. We have to keep people in check, because if you don't keep people in check, they will be likened to do something wrong. People have to be policed. That's why we have a police force. But you don't have any policing in the legislature. Why? It is because they have reached the pinnacle of power in our country, and they know that there's no way they can take advantage of us, because there's no way we can institute policing what they're doing. So they're taking advantage of us.
Talking about policing, the House said alteration went on, but they don't tell what happened, what was changed, and who did it, and if they are holding anybody accountable. Should we take this whole budget alteration thing seriously from them, or is
So
just
somebody moved, yes, the alteration, somebody moved money around. But nobody's supposed to be able to move money around except one person or two persons. So how did this happen? You know what I'm saying?
Jerome, will we ever know what happened?
Well,
Is Yumli Kanga. What are you trying, your homegirls trying to do here?
Dennis, you raised a very important point, which is why are they not even telling us what was altered?
No, nobody's telling us.
Like they're not saying anything. They're only saying some. I mean, the budget was. What was it that was altered? They're not saying it.
look, Mr. John, I know you're going to lie when I say this, but a year from now, and I keep saying the same thing, on February 23rd, 2024, when Joseph Boakai came up with his XPA thing, and I told you a year from now, call me and see if this thing has moved anywhere. We saw the LTA thing made big news. What did the president do? They put out this elaborate press release that a committee was set up to investigate across the board on X, Y, and Z. I thought the president would have said, as effective immediately, we will stop Mr. What's his name? The LTA folks will stop them from making this kind of money until otherwise order, or we will do that. But there were no decisions made. Instead, another committee was set up to go and investigate what this other committee has set up. It's a pattern here. Now, here we are, the House that began the whole process, set up a committee. The committee is a specialized committee. They went, they came out and said, we saw it, we know what happened was wrong, but we just couldn't find who did it. So the Senate said, you know what? We are going to now form, Nyobi Kanga said, I'm forming a special committee that will investigate that special committee, and we will find out where this thing go. So they won't tell you. She said, maybe in a week, we will not know, like the man used to say. When on this show, maybe a month or 2 months ago, there was a big allegation that the auditing committee found out that there were $200 million stolen between the executive and the legislative branches of government. And my sister Nyobi Kanga, she admitted yes, but she said there is no law in our republic that made that illegal. So until there's a law, we have broken no law, we have done anything wrong. So here we are now. We are forming another special committee to investigate the special committee. Then when they are done, then the president is going to come and say, I will form a committee to actually do this. So, my friend, we are wasting our time here. We need to move on to something else. These people, this is like the WWF. They know each other. They go in the background. They drink. They had a filet mignon. Then they come in the public and giving somebody a suplex and say, oh, this guy beat this person. When the leader go behind, they don't mind no people behind. You know, WWF wrestling, I thought it was fake. Some people said, no, this stuff is real. Until we find out that these people are fake. Whatever they tell you, where is my Tomo Fala, my own CDC man? That is vice, what is this? Deputy Speaker? Where is Fonati Kofa, the CDC man that were fighting for to become chairman? What happened to my son Joseph in the Senate? What happened to all these people? So we are all part of the WWF. We are all fake. But we come out here and put up a show, knocking our chest. When I get there, I'm going to get a guy a dupla. I'm going to slam him, only to find out that the chair you're using is fake. The mat that you slamming the person on is all cushion. There's nothing happening. The blood is fake. Listen, man, we're wasting our time. Nyobi Kanga knows that she will tell you what you want to hear. You want to hear that another committee is investigating another committee, and they say when you want a subject to die, just put it in a committee room, where committee room is where things go to die. This thing is dead. You will never know who had did it, and we'll move on to the next one. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Tao, who is going to investigate the investigator? I mean, is there any other way? Because if the fanatic group did not come up with anything, they say, yeah, there's alteration and that's the end, and Yomli group doesn't come, what else? What's the next step? What do we do? Just leave it? Do we have a recourse? That's my question. Mr. Tao.
Yeah. Hey, Dennis.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah. Hello.
We hear you. Go ahead. You get a question?
Can you hear me, Mr. Tao?
No, he's not hearing me.
That the oil from the oil field who start was saying.
Hello?
Mr. Tao, can you hear us?
Nope.
All right. Elvis, you go with that. What are we going to do about it if nothing comes out of the Yumbly committee, just like a
Look,
fanatic group?
in a civilized, society, and in a civilized system of governance, you have internal investigation that is independent of that, branch of government or agency or whatever. So we not have internal investigation, investigators within the legislature. I think we should if we don't already. But let me say this, Mr. Gamey, you're touching on something that I wanted to make the point on. There's no real opposition in that country. The opposition only really lies within the people outside on the street, going against the supporters of the people that's in position. And I come to this conclusion. I had reservation during the time of the election. But Nati Kofa is not a sedition. He is not. He rode on the wings of President we had to go to get a political ascension. But truly and truly, he is not a political ideologue of the CDC. And I think seditions should know that by now. He is not. Thomas Fala. So my point here is he is not the safeguard that sedition thought he was going to be to combat this government when they're not governing well. He is not. He's in such a powerful position, and he is not going to fight ideologically, for the ideological from the ideological standpoint of seditions.
But do you have to be sedition before you fight?
What I'm saying here is,
integrity, should it matter whether they're sedition or not? If you are standing for the right thing, do you have to be sedition before? I mean,
we're talking politics here now. We're not talking morality, right? So in terms of politics, if you're a Democrat or a Republican, there are certain things that you want to win, for your side. There's certain key issues that you want to get across for your side as a stalwart of that political party. We don't have something like that in Liberia. That's the point I'm trying to make. That sedition stuff that
we don't have a
right. You can argue that too. So the fact that sedition stuff that putting Funati Kofa in that position was going to bring some kind of balance, so the from domination of President Boakai's United Party, I think is wrong. Even the likes of Toma Fala is in the pockets of President Boakai. So if anybody is thinking that this budget, Funati Kofa is going to really investigate it and people are going to be held, responsible, I think the former acting finance minister, Anthony Myers, needs to be brought in for questioning. How can you say you move things around when you didn't let the legislature know and you're giving them a different bill now for the president to sign than they actually agree upon? So I think that's criminal in itself. And they should ask for the removal of the former acting, finance minister, because he's going to. So I think that was a criminal act. And if Funati Kofa and Thomas Fala, like you said, if they have the moral rectitude to stand up upright and say this is the wrong thing and we will stand up for this person to be punished, they should ask for that guy to be his expulsion from government, because I think what he did was criminal. You don't do that. You don't alter the budget after the legislature have already approved it. So I think that's criminal. And Funati Kofa is not going to do that. Like Mr. Gaming said, they're going to go behind the scene, have an agreement, blame it on somebody. Maybe they'll say it's a clerical error or something crazy like that, and think that Labrinco are so gullible and stupid that they're going to believe it. These guys are not working on your behalf. Whether they're in position or in opposition, they are not working on our behalf. But for those of us who are aligning with these political parties, and for those of us who are in the United States and think that if you're a Democrat, you stand for certain things, and the Democratic representative or senator are going to stand for the same thing, and they're going to fight for your behalf ideologically, it's not how Liberia is. And I think that people need to understand that. Funati Kofa, in my view, have no future in the CDC. I don't think CDCs are going to vote for him for anything. I think he might even lose his seat like a buffer chamber coming, the next election cycle when he's up for re-election. But I think he's really been dishonest. He hasn't fought for CDC, CDC or the CDC. That's my tip.
Thank you. Thank you. And Mr. Tao, these people represent us. And most of the time, we criticize them when they are not, maybe from our district, or if they come to America and they don't start with us, right? So let me give you an example. Funati Kofa, who set up this committee and said nothing happened, something happened, but that's the end, is being invited as the guest speaker for the 50th anniversary of EULA. EULA, that should be the umbrella organization of all Liberian organizations here. Funati Kofa is the role model, is the one who's supposed to speak. It's not only that, the Journalists Association of Liberian Journalists in the Americas, AJA, who's the guest speaker? Funati Kofa. Then his own
inviting Stanton to be a guest speaker.
His own Grand Crew County is inviting him. So if that is the moral compass of our society, this is the person who's supposed to be the rule. And I'm not indicting him, but he has some issues too. So to what extent do we, the citizens, including those of us in the diaspora who always talk and criticize these people, try to hold them accountable, to what extent are we also liable for their mishap? We only criticize if they are not on our side.
Yeah. So in the first place, you made a strong point for us in the diaspora, right? But guess what? All of the people that wrecked the country for the last 18 years, including the one they're offering the diaspora, I will continue to make this point until it is actually echoed. The 18 years, all areas, whether the presidency down to major areas in the House to major agencies and decision makers, they all come from the diaspora. They go
Boakai and Coon come from the diaspora.
They look on an industrial scale, and when they lose their job, could you please stop interrupting me, please? When they lose their jobs, they run back over here. We've seen it in this government. We saw in the Ellen government was in rampant, and so and I've seen that the diaspora group don't hold themselves accountable. We sit here and we talk about how there is corruption in Liberia, but everything you look at is people that are from the diaspora that occupy the major positions with no ideas, with no innovation, with no commitment to the country. Okay, but look, to expect something tangible from the House, whether it is representative or Senate, I don't know. Maybe we are asleep. This is one of this house or these two houses are our major problem. These are people who sat there, gave themselves all this money, suck up everything from the country where people can't even do anything. So there was no opposition, just like Mr. Morris said. And guess what? We want to give some example of the US that there is some. No, it's the same. It's the same. There is no real opposition. They go behind closed doors. They agree on something. They come out. They argue among themselves, and they go and they shake hands. I will give you a scenario. They were going to go normalize relationship with China, and it was a Republican president that was in power. The two parties already agreed on it. It was a taboo. Why did they want to inform all the top senators and representatives that this is what we are going to do? It's going to be good for us for geopolitical stuff. They said, man, the American people are going to get upset. But you know what? We're going to sign up on it, but we're going to blast you in public. It's the same thing. So Joe said in there, the guys are there for them to make their money. They're making a lot of money. What are they going to do? So, my brother, this is what we have.
Joseph, my problem is our fault, right? Those of us that continue to celebrate them, even though we know some of them are thieves.
Yeah. Oh, it's our fault, right? If you look at it. But Mr. Ja, let's look at it like this. Let's look at, because I keep pointing this out. Let's look at the system here, right? It was under Ellen. In recent time, the corruption started. All the setup that you see here, Ellen created it.
Yes.
Now, people got upset. Senators and representatives, most of them one term, right? They got voted out. when we are came to power, then they vote, put new people in. What happened? It's the same thing. Now people voted them out. According grading, they're all gone. What happened? New people came. Isn't it the same thing? So we can see the pattern. So it doesn't matter. Dylan was the light. What happened? Dylan don't shine anymore. It's the same thing. So we have to look beyond just, okay, so if all you have is just election, you vote. And the way that these people are becoming in the democracy that we have, that they're giving us, is a popularity context. People are not cultivated. People are not running for these offices based on what they have done and what they're capable of doing. It's about how popular they are and how much money they can throw around. So these kind of things invite what thieves and criminals. And that is what you're seeing in Liberia. So, okay, the people get upset. They say, okay, election is 2 months from now. They vote them all out. You're going to vote people back in, and the same thing is going to continue. So we have to look at the overall structure of this stuff. We have to go beyond just this. Look, what plaguing Liberia ever since, no matter what kind of conversation we have, is corruption. And I keep saying here, the system that we have, the governing system that have been given to us, it's inherently corrupt. Corruption mode is built in it. Something that is based on, okay, Dennis, if you want to serve as president, they say you are serving, right? If you want to serve, you have to go ahead and have money in order for you to run campaign. We are talking about corruption right now. The corruption starts at that point. Democracy is a business. It's for sale. People invest in these people and their shareholders, and they sit in the background to recoup their investment. It's the same thing here in the US. It's the same thing in Liberia. We have to look at this a little bit deeper. This is the problem. We can talk from now to Judgment Day. The structure and the system that is in place, it is not about throwing it all away. We have to critique it. What is not working, we have to point it out. We have to change it. We have to alter it. It's not going to work. This thing was never meant to work. It would never work. It doesn't matter. Mr. Clarence, I'm sorry, Cummins come to power is not going to make any difference. It probably would even be worse. Because look, you see that nation that you have, it's very difficult to run because of how it's set up. Even if the president have very good intention, the bureaucratic system that is set up, you can't do anything. You got to go to the Senate. You got to go to this. All the crooks and criminals sit there. You got to pass there. You have to bribe them. You have to do this. If not, they should. It's the same thing. It's a mess.
Jimmy, how do we fix this? What's the way forward?
Okay, so Mr. Tao thinks there's something inherently wrong with the system itself. Well, again, we don't have very many systems to model after. But what I can see clearly that is wrong is a lack of transparency. Lack of transparency and lack of autonomy in investigation and auditing. So there's two things. First of all, everything they do, we need to know it. It needs to be clear from the jump. It needs to be clear in black and white and no hiding. For instance, when they're calling for this alteration to say the alteration, no, it has to be clear what alterations happen. Number two, we will need to be able to assign investigators who are not subject to their power. They are autonomous. So they will carry out the investigation with no inhibition. Our system is based on working through a it's not what we call a trust yourself kind of thing. It has to be policed. We have to be policed. And if we don't change that, and it also needs the last component of this is the campaign to change our culture. We have to that stealing is wrong with the people who have gotten their wealth illegally. We shouldn't tout them as heroes. Unfortunately, right now, Dennis, all the way we're talking, those people who have become rich overnight are heroes. They are worshipped in the country.
Yeah.
So until our culture shames these people, rejects them, and puts them to where they belong, it's a cultural change. We will not care. Yeah, okay, they say I stole, but I got $1 million. After a while, they'll forget about it. I'll be one of the big shots in the country.
Thank you.
And that's been going on. And until we address that culturally, have campaigns, have slogans, have advertisement on TV, radio, to attack this culture of impunity, this culture of dishonesty. We have to actually go after it. When Singapore did their thing, they weren't joking. They went after it like they're going to a war. Anybody who did it, they will shame you. They will bust you up. That is how we have to pursue it. Anything less than that, I mean, you look at what Rawlings did. Rawlings was brutal. That is the kind of a mechanism you have to employ to change the culture. And I don't know of any other better system, Mr. Tao. I know, but because every system, once you got people in there, and
have you looked in your own culture?
The last component of any system is the human. And once you pull human beings out of that system, it can be corrupted. So we got to have a good autonomous check and balance in our system, and with plenty of transparency.
Let me bring in our audience now to form part of the discussion. If you want to take part, please call 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403 pound. What's for LTA? Other reports say there's corruption, right? And that's the next thing I want us to talk about.
Yeah, Dennis, just before you go on, I just wanted to tag on something Brother Jimmy said, and Brother Tao also alluded. I think, in my estimation, the biggest problem we have in Liberia is leadership. We have not gotten the leader whose intentions are to develop Liberia the way it should. Look, there are many examples on the continent that we can cite where leadership made a difference. Look, in 1969, when Muammar Gaddafi overthrew the King Sanusi, who was there, by then, the oil industry was under the control of the Italian and the British. The first thing Gaddafi did was he nationalized the oil sector. That was the first decision he took. And we all saw what happened afterwards. You know what? Since the overthrow of the Niger government, the changes that the junta has introduced has yielded immediate results, and the people of Niger are now seeing the benefits of the changes that the leaders introduced. Now, we also know what Paul Kagame has done in Rwanda. So our problem is a leader who is determined, no matter what, to develop Liberia. Until then, we are in for a very difficult years to come.
You use the Benin example. Are you asking for coup?
Pardon me?
You use an example from Benin.
Niger. No, I'm not calling for coup. I'm just talking about leaders. Okay. I mean, I don't. Yes, I'm talking about leaders.
Carabo Gonglo waiting for you on the phone to tell you what the solution is.
Thank you. And the last thing we want to talk about here is the LTA. There's an audit, and this is what they find. Failure to remit government revenue, incorrect revenue sharing, unreconciled cash balance, exclusion of regulatory fee, failure to open bank account, irregularities in headquarters construction contract, lack of technical expertise, unremitted government revenue, excess payment, and on and on and on and on. The report finding, Mr. Murray, does this seem like a witch hunt?
Look, it's the pattern, Mr. John. This government wants to go after all the corruption that happened in the past, but they don't want to face the corruption that's happening right in front of their eyes right now. So, am I saying that those things didn't happen at the LTA? Most likely, they probably did, and it probably happened under the previous administration before President Weah's administration. So, if you want to go after these guys, look, President Boakai, do it. Do it. Everything that you do, and you fight corruption, that will be a template for the next government to come and fight corruption after you leave. And hopefully, you'll be alive then when you leave government, and there's another government that comes into power. So you can see how to go after your people. And I'm sure you'll be very proud of it because that's setting, that's fighting for the rule of law. So do it. It's like that empire, the emperor from Star Wars said, do it. Fulfill your destiny. Do it. Arrest all these, corrupt guys, put them in jail, make examples of them. And then there's two things we'll like to see. After you've done it, when there's nothing more to do for the past government, then you should focus on your own government. But I'm sure by that time it'll just be coincidentally, or probably the 6 years have probably elapsed, and he ran out of time. And there's no way he can audit his own government because he was so busy prosecuting those from the previous government. And then let's see if the new administration will come in, maybe from the opposition, and let's see if they will audit, investigate, and jail corrupt officials from this Boakai administration. That's what we want to see. For me, look, like I said before,
and that's going to be a good thing, right? So if Boakai goes after people from the previous government, I mean, he knows that the next government is going to come after, so they're going to do everything right. So that's going to be a good thing.
Are they doing everything right now, and they're already going after the people that they're going after? But let me tell you this. Another fear is this: when you feel threatened, when you feel like your people, especially those who are around President Boakai, he may not care. He would be in his 80s or something, and he would probably not, have to worry about being prosecuted, right? Well, those guys around him, that's when election integrity comes into play, because once you put yourself in a conundrum where if you leave, you're probably going to jail. If you stay, you're probably going to get killed in a violent uprising. So now you put yourself in a rock and a hard place. And that's what I don't want President Boakai to do, because definitely there's corruption going on in this government. There's corruption that will happen tomorrow, happen next month, happen within the next 5 years. Corruption will happen. And once these guys see that President Boakai has set himself up to be somebody who other people may quote unquote retaliate against, or from prosecuting people, these guys will not want to leave their position. They'll do everything to try to hang on to power. That's when they start to rig elections. That's when the police become more violent. That's when you might have a coup attempt. That's when you might have uprising. And these things, it tends to destabilize the country. So if he's doing the right thing, fine. As long as he will have a peaceful and fair elections, and if they win, fine. If the next person wins, he turn over power peacefully, then it's all good. But we know Africa, we know the history of our continent, we know what happens. Whenever a president feels threatened, it's very, very difficult for him to give up power. And I hope we don't find ourselves in that conundrum.
Mr. Tao, where do you think this is going? Do you think this is going to yield some fruits here, or is a smoke screen?
Yeah, I'm appalled. Liberians, we are too conflicted. We cry all over the place that corruption is the #1 enemy, all over the place. And when the attempt or the move to actually fight corruption, we want to then start wavering all over the place. Does it really matter where they start, if corruption actually took place, or who they start with? If they were really serious, I think our concern should be, what are the people that they're going after? Let there be due process. I think that should be our concern. It's not about whether they go. So look at the threat. I heard this from President Weah. I heard this from most of his supporters. I don't support nobody. My interest is in Liberia being stable and being good. It doesn't matter. They're stealing the country's money. The next thing you hear is, if they want for the country to be stable, they're going to go after them if they set this example. So then what do we want? President Weah gave a speech. If you look, there was no riot or possible riot or gathering, even though when Boakai was wrongly removing people from LT and other places. until they started to mention the corruption stuff. Then they have the youth that are idle, that both sides militarized. We are gave a speech immediately. They're using these kids. We are came to power. He built all kinds of stuff. Refused to publish his asset, even declare. Got out of office, violated everything, didn't do anything. When he came to power, he had the opportunity. We all cry out. Ellen stole so much money. Audit them and you investigate them. He refused to do that. Then he want to cry if somebody want to go after them because probably they stole money. I think
so where you
say,
think
look, we welcome this.
Think it's going?
Whether Boakai then see and they do it to them later, that should not be our concern. But look,
and I agree with you. So where do you think this audit one is going? You think you're going to land people in jail, dismissed?
Yeah, and look, before I rest this, having said that, yeah, hello, Dennis.
Come on, Joseph, you got this. Come on, get this right.
Joseph the dreamer, let's go.
Hello.
All right, Joseph.
We can hear you, Joseph.
Go out and come back in.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
He's not hearing you, Dennis.
Oh God.
He's out. Okay.
Mr. Gaiman.
Yes.
If we, with all the money that they are talking about, right? There's 3 or 4 million LTA. You go to central bank, there's another million there. You think if we can recoup all this stolen money, we don't have need to go to Indonesia, right? What do you think?
Well, and I will say this, and I'm going to quote Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. After John Molu did about 80 audits, and she did 3, and the 4th one, it all ended in insufficient evidence in the Supreme Court, all including Edwin Snow and everybody else. She decided we are spending too much money and too much time going to court, and we have become the butt of the international community that the government has lost every case they took to court. So what I'm going to do, she said, is we are going to convict them in the court of public opinion, and then we're going to start spending money and develop or run our country. And I think to some degree, Ellen was right. Because when you look at the process of the audit, if you want to do it right, after you have done the audit and you got your finding, it's supposed to be sent to the legislature. And then they have to send it to the judiciary through the justice ministry. Then they have to indict. Then they have to try. And then go all the way on to conviction. And like the Disno, then he appealed to the Supreme Court and he was acquitted. So you are talking about years of the process. And I think it was set up this way by corrupt people who did not want people coming after them. Because if you're going to try one case, it's going to take you a year. You spend tons of money, and then you lose that case. What does that say? You go and let's say the tour and the 7 men that were accused, the $500,000 was either misplaced or used or transferred. There are 7 of them, and then you spend $3 million to go after $500,000. I don't know if it makes sense. So what I'm saying here is somebody, if it's not political, if we want to be honest, if we didn't have any politics involved, which is when you are on a fire, you want to change the topic, you arrest one guy here and there, you parade him around town, people say you're doing something, you can do that. But if you actually wanted to save this country, Councillor Arthur Johnson made it clear, to recoup money that is being stolen. He said it is so expensive because it entails the international forensics experts from the FBI, from the Scotland Yard, and you got to pay these folks some 1% if they recoup. But before they even sign onto that, you have to pay a retainer. According to him, it was like $7 million retainer to start collecting money if you do. So the whole thing here was set up, I think it was set up to fail. So if you want to be for real, to say you are going to audit people, you're going to try them, and then after you try them, you're going to recoup the money. It takes forever to recoup money that is, if it's all over the world, you deal with. So, I mean, to me, it sounds good, but it is an exercise in futility, I think.
Thank you. Dr. Pearson, you see 10 people broke into our village and stole, right? If we catch, at least we catch even 3. Isn't that okay? Why people keep referring to, why only we have, so if it is established that people from the previous government actually stole the money, why shouldn't we be celebrating that the Boakai administration is going after these people? Why are we complaining? Like Mr. Tower said, isn't this double standard? We wanted the corruption, we wanted the bad people to be caught. Even if we don't get all 50 or we get 20, isn't that something to celebrate?
Dennis, thank you. You see the situation there, and there are a couple of things there to look at. First of all, it helps President Boakai more to stop the corruption that is within his government, which was saving money he already has as a government, than to go chasing money that already been squandered and wasted in the past. Mm-hmm. The reason why you go after money in the past for corruption and stuff is to deter the reoccurrence of those crimes, even though you intend to get some of those money back. But the major reason for trying to get at those people is to deter the crime from reoccurring. But as from all indications, that purpose is already defeated on the grounds that President Boakai is accommodating criminals in his own administration from the very start of his administration.
I agree. So but are there criminals in the past that you can catch?
Where I'm going, then it puts a dent in his motive and intentions of correcting the past, because it doesn't serve the purpose. One of the panelists, Joseph, said that our system is inherently bad. I don't think the system is bad. It's like having a beautiful vehicle, but then the people who driving drunk. You can have a beautiful vehicle and everything about the vehicle is correct. If you put a drunk driver behind the steering wheel, it's going to damage it. Mm-hmm. And every time they crash it, they're going to blame the car, but now the car doesn't have the problem. It's the drivers that got the problem. So I think what's happening then is how we can correct this. Let me say this. It is a good thing for us to prosecute people who have stolen money from our country. It's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. And the guys at LTA should be held accountable for those other reports that are indicating stolen money. But again, go back to what I'm saying. President Boakai suspended people for stealing money, and at the same time, they were from the LTA. By the same time, they were negotiating behind the scene with the very same people who stole the money from LTA to pay them off so they can turn over the position to those who Boakai have favor to take over the position. So it was rogue trying to correct another rogue. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't work like that. And
thank you. Thank you. Right there. Let me bring in 2 callers right away to chime in.
It's about footing.
Thank you. Let's bring in 2 callers here. Flomo Livingstone, you're live.
Yeah, Mr. John, thank you for the show. Great show today. Can you hear me, Mr. John?
Yes, sir.
All right. Look, again, it's so powerful me, like when people are crying wolf. And like you tell me a bank robber or 5 bank robber and the police catch 2. And the 2 telling the police officer you have to tell the right before you punish me. That's not how it works. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad today those 5 officials were officially indicted today. So I'm glad the thing is working. And most of the time when we found guilty and they spend time in a South Beach where they send 4 people who both speak 500 liberty and 1 beggar that they in jail there for that long period of time. No, that country need to move forward. It doesn't matter where they start. And I keep saying, I prefer for President Boakai to start it so that people that are working in his government will be careful. They will know how to do business. They will not do corruption because they will know the next government that comes in power will order them, and if they are found guilty, if they are found their hands are in the cooking jar, they will take them to court. And if they are found guilty, they will go to jail. So it has to start from somewhere. You can't put them to say, who will go punish themselves? Will I go punish myself? Is that how it works? It doesn't work that way. And every 3 years, when they do the audit every 3 years, then you can complain. But you can't say, there are corruption in the government. And do you have any evidence? until the GAC and the LTA can come up with any evidence, then we can speak on that. But we have to move forward. Look, the president that MOU they signed, but our all refinery is a good thing.
MOC.
It will create jobs.
MOC, Memorandum of Commitment.
Okay. MOC, all right. It will be a good thing in a way. It will create jobs directly and indirectly. There are people who claim or farm and other stuff like that. They will be able to do their businesses and they will be able to buy from them and things like that.
You said they will be refining McIntyre. You said they will be refining McIntyre oil.
But that oil or that crude oil.
That crude oil.
Oh, okay. Crude oil. Okay. Let's say that crude oil. You can't tell me that brother have no crude oil whatsoever.
But let's find it first.
You gotta find it first. We refine it, my man. Drill for it too.
I don't want to sing Panto song here, but you gotta find it first.
Guess what? Maybe when they start bidding it, they're about to bid it, they can be looking for it.
They can be looking for it.
Anything, bro.
You find it one more, you take your chance. Okay.
Thank you.
Hello?
Thank you, Flomo.
No, let me just. All right, thanks.
All right. Let's take the last caller here, Willie.
Good evening, Mr. Guy, and finally, good show tonight. But a few things here.
No, your name and where you calling from?
Wedi Nekaki Wedi here from North Carolina, Charlotte.
Oh, go ahead, Nekaki.
So, Mr. Boakai went to China, and we are hearing a big commitment, but it will not yield to anything because China is putting this thing out. At the end of the day, they're coming to New York, UN Security Council, where Liberia go to vote. You think China going to give you billions of dollars or millions of dollars and you're going to vote against them on any decision making here? And then you think they're going to release that money to you? No. They're not going to do it. So at the end of the day, we will make the big noise that, oh yeah, they can agree or they will agree to get all these things, and it will drag on because we're not voting in their interest. So nothing going to happen in that whole MOC, MOU, whatever. When it comes to Liberia corruption, I think something heavy got to happen. And I think when Mr. Gonglo said it last time, we took it out of context, right? But I think some kind of hatred, huge hatred need to go on in Liberia to say, okay, let's say for instance, the UP is in power now. Go against every other political party. Do your audit, persecute them, put them on the wall. Then when they come in tomorrow, they will say, oh yeah, they were there to persecute. We got to do the same thing. That's the only way maybe Liberia corruption will go now. But other than that, your brother on the other side, your sister on the other side, your niece on the other side, it will just be wrap my bike, I rob your bike. And it will continue on and on and on. Like for instance, we're talking about budget, fingering. Who brought it out? Conan and what they got, Clarence got. After the investigation in the house, have you heard anything from Clarence Guy? No. The Jäger called and said maybe he had getting a little 50G, he put it in a packet. I said he will not talk again. Normally can go up and come down. Her own say the rescue mother that was bouncing oil around here. See that amount of money she's taking now. She used to waste hot water on her colleague. Because they're taking soft conversation in committee room. But where is she now? It will never go away until some either heavy-handed man, like the other panelists said, the guy from Burkina Faso, or that some high-head military man get there and say, this is what we're going to do, that's it.
Yeah, man.
Other than that,
what a cool thing coming from there.
You think you want it, but you really don't want it. You think you want it, but you don't want it.
I will speak in a bit that I don't want to say child sitter, but he was hot-headed too. When child sitter said,
and what did he do?
And when he ended up,
well, human rights authority, he did it the wrong way.
yeah, okay.
The way the young man doing it in Burkina Faso, who going against him? Nobody going against him because he doing it for the country.
There's been like 10 coup against the guy. What do you mean nobody going against him? 10 coup attempts.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate your call. Jimmy, the LTA usually, I think you're the last man now to speak, and Boakai.
You know, I want to tell you something. You know, that's my industry. And that's why I spent the last 25 years trying to acquire some expertise. When I got around some of the officials, the first thing I noticed that they weren't really interested in the industry itself. You see, what the LTA serves as the commissions that can promote the industry. They look at the future. What can we do to grow the industry, grow IT? So many things that the LTA can strategically do to promote the industry in Liberia. I found it very surprising that they don't even want to talk, shop talk, telecom talk. They also have involved with the legal processes and legal regulations to regulate the industry so that it will grow, it will burgeon and become prolific. But it was to my chagrin that I could not get a healthy conversation with these people. It's like they're not genuinely interested. The ones who were a little bit interested were like the chief engineer. I talked to a couple of them and whatnot. They were a little bit interested but the ones over there, it's just about working, getting money, and stuff like that. They're not dedicated. I think the only thing I think anybody can do as president and a leading Liberia, you got to try to find some people who are dedicated. When you're interviewing them for that job, ask them, what's their vision for the job. And if they have no vision, they have no idea, no concept of what needs to happen, don't put them there in that position because they would just be occupied. We need visionaries. We need people who want to actually build. That's where Liberia is now. It's no more you can just be an administrator. Somebody already built it, already set it up, then you just can't sit down. No. Right now, Liberia needs visionaries. You need people who can create. You need people who have ideas. And by getting people who don't have it, all you would get is this corruption, because that's all what's going to happen, because you can't grow it. No more money coming in. You would just find other ways to just cope, and that leads to corruption. So I think the only way is to, the leader, like Brother Duku was saying, you have to get the kind of people who will be visionaries for tomorrow. That's what you need.
Thank you. Mr. Duku, you closer on this topic?
Yeah, Dennis,
I want to look a little bit ahead. Right now my friend Abdullah Kamara is the head, right, of that commission. So maybe if you talk good, I will link you up.
Dennis, look, the LTA saga is a microcosm of what is the Liberian government, the Liberian national government. I'm also going to echo something Brother Jimmy was just talking about. Look, I'm one of those who think that LTA shouldn't even exist as it is. It should not exist. It should be part of the Ministry of Post and Telecommunication. That's my belief, because first of all, essentially, it is a regulatory body. Most of its functions is more technical and practical than it is sitting in the office and trying to throw papers around. So all the ills that were mentioned in terms of corruption, how this was not reported, those are how everything in every ministry function. That's how they do it, and I'm sure that's not a secret. We all know that. Now reporting this. I mean, this is how they function in Liberia. So you have somebody who is the head of this agency. They're not growing the agency.
Exactly.
It is just as it was since it was created. So when you have individuals, and this is also, it goes to speak to, anyone who holds a terminal degree or master's degree, they think that that degree entitles them to job, any kind of job, simply because they hold master's degree. Well, it doesn't work like that. You could hold a master's degree if you don't have the requisite knowledge, the requisite technical know-how, you should not be there. Period. But again, Dennis, I will come back to my initial point. We have non-visionary leaders who don't look beyond their term in office. Look, I was just talking to somebody here who is a bus driver, and the came with something called rapid transit in our city here. And the guy said to me, listen, dude, this rapid transit was created 45 years ago. We're just implementing it now. But it was created and it was there until such time this province was in a position to implement it as it's been designed. That's what they call leadership. I mean, 45 years ago, I've been in this city for the last 32 years. So let's say about maybe 50 some more years ago, they had that plan for this city. So I'm not even sure if anybody who was part of that committee is alive today. But that's what people who have long-term interests of their country, that's what they do. You know what? Colonel Gaddafi is dead today, but the oil in Libya is for Libyans and is controlled by Libyans. No matter, despite all the upheaval, all the things that the European did to get rid of Gaddafi, we can see that Gaddafi wealth, Libya's wealth is in Libya and is benefiting the Libyans.
Yeah, and that's a very important point about long-term planning. It's like even with the money we're looking for, and Anthony Conyers made a point that the question I was asking earlier about recouping this money. He said just in this short time, corruption at CBL, finance, LTA, MPW, public works, nearly 500 million, right? So, and that's the money we can go outside to go ask for.
That's right. And then it's
long-term planning. Somebody want. That's why when you go somewhere, even when you don't want something, they give it to you. You take it because you want something. When you come in, they'll say, "Oh yeah, you did it," even if you don't need it.
Yeah, but Dennis,
I'm here to plan ahead. Then you don't have to, because you have this money now. Somebody want to be just a dead roll. You take it because people are waiting for you to clap for the next election. But if we can make plans that even though the money is not enough, but even if we can build just 1 mile so that it will be solid, let's do it. Let me forget about the short-term gains, benefits I can reap from this. But long-term planning is just absent from our governance system.
We don't do that. And Dennis, look, if in a very simplistic way, if you just limit the waste that goes on in a very ministry and agent, just that waste alone, forget about the large sum of money people borrow and steal. Forget about that. Just the ministries and the agencies, the waste that exists in those ministries and agencies. If you bring them under control, that money can do something significant for the Liberian people. But
that's what I was saying. And that is the same thing I was saying, that
the finance ministry, you look at that, takes the most money in the budget, but look at the building. But gentlemen, I want to also leave it here tonight. We hit the 2 hours mark, so I want to say thank you very much for coming, spending your Friday with us. I know there's other things that you want to get to for those of you who have their happy hour. You know, the way every dress is like out. So, but
look at it. The Eagles and the Packers.
Let's go with 30 seconds each, and for your closing. Mr. Dukla, you are on the floor. 30 seconds. Quickly, let's conclude.
Well, I just hope that someone is listening somewhere, and somehow somebody will spark somewhere that will give the the encouragement and the enthusiasm that we need to move our country forward. And so it's just my hope. And I want to thank you for the show, and I want to thank my fellow panelists for sharing the show with me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Elvis, you're closing 30 seconds.
All right, thank you. Look, I would say this: you can't ask a snake to be a zebra. I want to ask something from President Boakai, but I think it will be impossible because I want to tell him to come up with new ideas so that we can raise domestic revenues, so that he can have money to do the things that he wants to do. But I think he lacks the capacity, or it's just not in his blood to sit down in the country and try to come up with ingenious ways to raise money to accomplish his goals. So as such, he has to do things the way we've been doing it for many years. Go
Thank
out
you.
there and go big for money. And I think it's the wrong path to take, and you have to reassess that mode of doing things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tower.
Yeah, I don't understand why I keep hearing it raise domestic revenue, raise domestic revenue. Because usually when that is mentioned, is to tax the people. We are saying there is a lot of money already in the country.
Yes.
The stuff that you posted on there, waste in the various ministries and everything between these people is 500 million. The money is
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
the revenue is not the issue. You can even get it to 60 billion. The criminals are in place and they're going to loot it. So we first need to create the system that stop that. Because you can even create 100 billion, is the impact is not going to be felt. But
Thank
look,
you.
real quick, to my point, when I say the system is the problem, and Dr. Pearson gave a very good analogy, right? He said that there is a certain vehicle, it's a very nice vehicle, and the vehicle is not a problem. It's the drunk driver that is driving the vehicle. That is good, but I think it's incomplete. The vehicle is very good, but the process through which the driver is selected, the driver is always a drunk driver. So yes. So that is how that drone driver ended up in that vehicle, because the process that is used to select always favor drunk driver. So then that driver get in that vehicle, then he crashed it. So that is the problem we have with Liberia. Okay.
Thank you.
The way
Dr.
it's set,
Pearson.
the criminals that are chosen.
I like the modification to that parable. That's brilliant. Dennis, I kept this for last. Memorandum of commitment is an informal commitment. It's not binding. It's unofficial. It's just a gentleman agreement, like we said with the 285 yellow machines. You can look it up. So, sir, again, I just want to say, listen, we need to protect and respect the system that we already have in place. If we cannot protect and respect what we already have in place, that Boakai have done, he has abused all of those mechanisms that were put into place to protect from corruption to begin with. He undermined his own efforts to want to do the best he thinks he wants to do for the country. And I would say this, the time we take to be fighting and fussing about stolen money, which is a good thing to account for the past, let us protect the ones that are already there. Let us protect the ones that are already there. Let us be honest and stop all of the leakages in the SOEs, dubious social responsibility spending. Just do him for go meeting deciding how money spent in SOEs should be stopped, and let us channel our attention on improving on what we already have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbon.
Yes, I will do a shameless plug here. This coming Sunday on Point, we're going to be hosting Mr. Dennis Jar. All things Dennis Jar. If you want to know who he is, most of us don't know who we want to know him as CEO. He will be our guest, one of our anniversary guests on Sunday. And we're going to dig deeper into who this gentleman is. In the meantime, he has a book. I just purchased one. If you have time, pick it up. All the wisdom that he talks about on this show, we're talking about, is actually in a book, The Foundation of the Nation.
All the parables that I like.
Yes.
I said all the parables that we like.
Yes, all the parable you like.
Gerald, where can I find it?
Oh, it's on Amazon. I got it on Amazon.
The title.
Oh, the title is The Republic of Liberia. Said Foundational Words of Our Nation. That's
okay.
By Dennis Baku Kenji Jar, right?
That's
funny.
Dennis Jar, that's it right there. But
Foundational what?
There you go. There goes the book.
Okay.
Gentlemen, go and get your copy. It's a great read. Great read.
Thank you.
Yeah, real quick. In 1787, Benjamin Franklin and one Dr. Williamson had a conversation. And he said, I'm 81 years old. He said, what is it that we are crafting? Are we crafting a monarchy or what? And the lady said, we want a republic. She said, Doctor, yes, a republic and not a monarchy. Then she said, a republic only if we can keep it. At the end of the debate, Benjamin Franklin said, as arduous as this have been, I doubt at the end if we can keep this democracy. He said, I see it being so corrupt at the end that the folks will turn to despotism as the final answer to this democracy or this experiment. I'm only saying to those who are talking and we think they are crazy, it is historic. The folks that this man, Tyler keeps saying, it was a system that was given to us. He's right. Even the founding father of that system had doubt that the people will become so corrupt at the end that the only choice would be despotism. This is 1787. I'm not saying this because, we are here. But anyhow, anybody who think that we're having a refinery in Grand Bassa County, I have an ice sheet of island to sell you in this hot Florida.
And smoke fish.
Yeah.
You got smoke fish to sell them too.
Smoke fish is possible. The ice you can't get. It is a distraction. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jimmy, you're closing.
Yeah, yeah. I have to agree with my brothers here. The thing that will turn Liberia around there will have to be something introduced that will force people to think out of the way they do today. Right now, it's just a popularity contest, just like Mr. Tao brilliantly illustrated. The system is giving these drunk drivers access to our national car. And they don't know
the one that was parked in the garage or the one that is
the car is so rusty, sit down for 2 years and do nothing, and you get to drive.
So the whole way from looking at social development over years and years, something tragic has to happen before people start thinking differently. But now everybody only thinking about how to get money. That is, if you really go on the ground there's no one really thinking about national development. It's just about getting money, and that's going to have to degenerate to a level that people will start feeling it, and then maybe only then it will initiate a change of mind, and we'll start thinking differently. So I don't know where we'll see it in our generation, but someday the one generation will realize it and turn things around.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. Thank you, gentlemen. I want to thank our
This is why I
viewers
want to
for
mentor
watching.
Mr. Morris. They're the young guys. I want to mentor him so they can go back and play.
At this time, we're going to close with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night and God bless you. Bye-bye.
We are Liberians.